Hey there, welcome. I'm Dali, the host of the DaliTalks Show, where I share my knowledge and valuable information in hopes to inspire you to reach your goals, overcome challenges, and so that you know that you're not alone. Today's guest is none other than Jessie Medina. Jessie is a social entrepreneur, founder of the FEMX movement, speaker, and writer. She is the CEO of FEMX Quarters and host of FEMX Podcast. Jessie is passionate about personal growth, empowerment, equality, and community. I've invited Jessie to come here today and talk to us about the power of female networks. So without further ado, here's Jessie Medina. Welcome, Jessie. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to come on to the DaliTalks Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to talk to you via video.
Yeah, I know. We have to do the in-person thing as soon as all this quarantine is over. But let's dive into it. Can you please share with my audience who you are and a little bit about your background, just so they know, so they can fall in love with you just the way that I did?
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, so I am from Argentina originally. I started my career in the corporate world. I was doing marketing. I worked my way up to VP of marketing in corporate, and then because of a series of events, I decided to eventually quit and follow my dreams to start my own business. And because of a lot of the things that I saw on while I was in corporate, I decided to also start the FEMX movement, which is just really dedicated to creating resources for women to empower women. And under that, we have the co-working space, FEMX Quarters. We have FEMX Summit, which is an annual event. We have FEMX Podcast, and just everything FEMX that I do to help women. We also just have something newer is FEMX University, which is online courses for women to learn about online business.
I love that. And I have been able to partake in a little bit of that as well, and the podcast. Haven't been to the quarters yet, but soon, hopefully. So
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, I know, right? All this stuff going on now. So can you talk to me a little bit about how you came up with this idea, and especially the name FEMX? Because I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, so FEMX stands for Female Empowerment Movement and Experiences. So when I first started the movement, I started with Fem Latinas, which was dedicated to empowering Latina women. And after that, I started getting a lot of just women of color that wanted to be part of it and coming to our events. And we were doing these events that we called experiences. And so we were creating these female empowerment experiences. And so I thought, we want to be more inclusive. So the X is kind of like experiences, and also it's just like the inclusive part of it, that everyone's welcome. And so, yeah, so that's how FEMX came about. Also, I started seeing femme everywhere, like after a while. So I was like, I always like to be unique. So that's one of the reasons why too. I was like, okay, like how can I like add a little twist to it? And I just think it worked out perfectly because we did want to be really inclusive, and I never wanted anyone to feel like, oh, if you're not this way or that way, you can be part of it. So that's really how the name came about, and the FEM itself stood for Female Empowerment Movement, and that was just a download. It's just like it just came to me.
I like that. That's clever. I didn't know that. I thought it was just female, but
Yeah.
it's an acronym. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So tell me, what type of opportunities do you offer for women at FEMX Quarters?
Yeah, so FEMX Quarters is our co-working space / event venue and creative studio. So we pretty much are a space where women can come and create, whether you're hosting an event, you're working on your business, you're doing a photo shoot, whatever it is. It welcomes everyone, but I did design it pretty like feminine with the goal of creating that space for women, a feminine space for women. And it's been amazing. I used to work out of another co-working space because I had my own business, and so I was doing the movement, and then I was also doing my business. And at that co-working space, it was great, it was nice, but I wasn't really meeting people. So I would go to my event or other events and make a lot of friends, like women friends, and then I would go to work and I wasn't really making those connections there. So I wanted to create a co-working space and just space in general where you would meet the type of women that you would meet at events, so that it would happen more often and not once a month when you go somewhere in LA or something. So now, that I see the magic happening all the time. Women go, they meet each other, they sometimes end up starting a business together or doing an interview of each other, or like just beautiful things, beautiful collaborations. And so it's just really exciting to see that and to be part of that and to be able to claim like, oh, I know they met through us or something, like that's just like really rewarding. So
Yeah, I love that. That's one of the things that attracted me to your brand and to who you are. I don't remember exactly how I found you, but I know it was Instagram. And I remember I was instantly excited because I, being Latina and being Nicaraguan, I find myself being the oddball because you don't
yeah.
find too many Nicaraguenses out there, And then what I love too is that, oh my gosh, you're Argentinian. Like, it's
Yep.
not the common, most.
It's so true. Especially Nicaragua. You're the second. Like, I only know two Nicaraguan women, in just like my adult life, because it's not that common. And I love that. And I think when we started Fem Latinas, that was one of the things that was a goal of mine, because I didn't feel represented in a lot of like the Latina, like we still, and it's not to criticize, like to
Oh,
each their own, but like I see a lot of like Latina groups that focus on like one culture, and like that's great for those people, but like where are the people that are talking about like mate too, or like random little things that represent other Latina cultures? And
right.
so we really were really adamant with Fem Latinas to be like, we're worldwide, we have ambassadors of different different countries, and we just really want to be super inclusive when it comes to that, because it is cool. It is cool to go to a page and see something that represents your culture. And so yeah, so that's really interesting that you say that, because it's so true. You're the second one only that I've met from Nicaragua. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't meet a lot of Argentinian women either. Actually, my sister-in-laws are from Argentina. Well, actually,
oh,
her parents.
cool.
Yeah, but especially in business, you don't meet
Yeah.
a lot of, non whatever the majority is in the region we're in, right? And the other thing too that I noticed that you're in San Diego, which is refreshing for me because everything seems to be in LA.
Yes.
I was like, oh, get away from LA. I mean, it's nice and all, but it's nice to just have it in a different location. And unfortunately, it's still too far from me. It's like 2.5
hmm
hours driving with traffic. But I mean, that's not
Wow.
stop me from going to visit you.
Yes, do come, do come.
Yeah,
Now when things open.
right? Yeah. But I mean, at least it's something like where I can actually go to. And I remember when I first found out about you, I thought, man, I wish you were closer because that would be even better to go on a daily or weekly or whatever.
hmm
But I love that you do have a space where women feel included. You do have the
hmm
diversity, and I've noticed that in your posts and on the online events that you have. Women are from all over, the
hmm
country, and also a lot of them are immigrants from different places, not just mainly from
hmm
one area.
Yeah.
So let's.
Yeah, and something that I do want to put out there, and it might have got a little delayed now, but one of our goals is to open FEMX Quarters in different cities, and so we'll do that through franchising opportunities.
Oh
And
wow.
so that is something that is part of the initial goal, the initial plan. Obviously, some things have gotten delayed because of everything that's happening now. The goal was to be able to start offering those by the end of the year. So I think it might take a little longer now, but I'm still really excited because we definitely have had a lot of women say that, we want it in New York, we want it in Chicago. So that is part of the goal too.
That's amazing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be asking more questions about that as you get closer
Yeah.
to do that. So let's talk about the power of female networking because I mean that's a big part of your business and your brand. So if I were a young girl starting to grow my career or my business, what advice would you give them?
Honestly, and this is tricky because I've changed so much over time, but I would definitely say to young women, follow your heart and you don't need to do things to fit a mold. You know, I went to college, I got 2 degrees, I did everything right that I was told to do right, and I still didn't feel like I was doing what I loved and like following my purpose. And so while I'm really grateful for all my experience and all the things that I've lived, a lot of those things, like I went to college as a dreamer, so that was really hard because it was super expensive. It took me forever. I was having like 3 jobs to pay for it. I couldn't get scholarships. So, you know, all this time I was like crazy, like, oh, I have to go to college because this is what I was told, you know, and I have to do it. And I realized now that I have my business that honestly, everything that I learned about my business, it didn't come from college. It didn't come from the theory that I learned in college. It came from like my real world experience in corporate, or just be opening a business and actually learning on the spot. So yes, like if you want to be a doctor, you know, go to like school for that, or like if you want to be a lawyer, but especially if you're trying to start a business, I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm just saying, you know, if it's what you really want to do, do it, but don't do it because you think that that's the only way to get it.
Right.
There's actually a lot of opportunity out there. And, you know, we see YouTubers now that are like 19 and super successful. So there is opportunity for everyone. Follow your dreams. You don't need to fit the mold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on some great points. And something I heard recently was uh, somebody was actually ranting about tuition, you know, how
Mm-hmm.
expensive it is.
Yeah.
And this person said, why would I pay a university for all these courses that will not help me
Mm-mm.
on what I really want to focus, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So, what advice would you give a young woman when it comes to all this chatter about women having to compete against one another?
Yeah, so I think, you know, the word compete is not always bad. It depends on the context. I think, you know, it's okay if you're doing your market research and you know your competitors, or if you're playing a sport and you want to win, that's totally fine. I think competition, it's bad when it comes from like envy, when it comes from a place of, hey, I don't want somebody else to succeed, when I don't understand that my own success depends on me and my actions and not somebody else winning something. And so I think that's more from a place of like envy, or like wanting what somebody else has, and not being happy for somebody else's success. I think that's when it's a problem. And the problem is that you're not really hurting the other person, you're actually hurting your own success, your own possibilities, because as you focus on that, you're actually saying, I don't have the power to win on my own. I had to bring this person down, or this person cannot win for me to win. So now you're basically taking the power away from yourself, from the fact that you can do whatever you want to do, and like no one can take away your light. No one can, you know, do exactly what you do in this world. And so I think it's far more empowering to say, I am who I am, and I could have someone next to me that does the same thing. Essentially, right? Like I could have a marketing agency, and somebody else next to me can have a marketing agency, and I will shine and speak to certain people, and that person, in their own right and with their own light and story and whatever, can speak to a different group of people because we're all unique. And you know, I've done many things where I, you know, brought on opportunities for someone that had an agency, a branding agency, or other things that I do in the same space as mine. And people have asked me that question, like, what, don't you feel uncomfortable doing that? Like, what if people go to them? And I'm like, the people that resonate with my message are going to resonate with my message. And if people resonate with her, then that's great too. And I think what happens is that people can do both, right? Like people can follow you and they can follow me. Like it doesn't really matter. So I think that's when it's bad, when the context is I'm envying this person, or their success doesn't make me happy or makes me uncomfortable. I think then we need to ask ourselves, why is that? And that, I think, is a sign of an insecurity, an inner insecurity, thinking that you're not enough, or what you have to bring to the table isn't good enough. And I also think I don't necessarily blame women for that. Like, yes, we can change that, but I also understand where it comes from, because opportunities for women have been so limited for so long. Like, you don't see, you know, you didn't see as many women CEOs or as many women managers or whatever it may be over the years. And so women subconsciously have this message that, hey, if there can only be one female manager among 50 male managers, then that's going to be me, and I have to compete for that spot, and it has to be, I'm going to be the woman that made it there, you know, subconsciously, right, for all these decades. And so now now we're talking about collaboration, and we're talking about non-competing, and we're understanding that. But I understand why for the longest time women felt that scarcity mindset, because it was scarce, it was difficult to make it as a woman. And now we're realizing, hey, if I collaborate with other women, I'm actually making it a better place, not just for me, but future generations. Like, if I make it the new normal to have a bunch of female managers or a bunch of female CEOs, that's going to help my daughter in the future, my sister, whoever it may be, find an opportunity, and gender is not going to be an issue. But for as long as we perpetuate that competition, and we perpetuate, like, I'm going to be the only CEO and I'm not going to hire other women because that's going to threaten my position or whatever it may be, we're actually only perpetuating the problem. So it's really important to understand that it's all about our mindset, and knowing who we are and being confident in what we have to offer.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you have described that so well. Especially, I love the part where you said that if it comes from pretty much a bad feeling like envy, because, I've always been that competitive person.
Yeah.
With myself and with others. And sometimes others don't even know I'm competing against them, but it's like a natural instinct to do.
Yeah.
Because I see it as, if she's that good or he's that good, I want to be just as good as they are. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I will push myself. It's never been about like, oh, I can't stand that. I'm doing so much better.
And that's when it becomes aspirational, right? And that's why we have role models, because that's what it's called. It's an aspiration. Like, hey, I'm trying to, like Oprah Winfrey. How many women say, oh, I want to be like her? And it's not from like a place of envy or anything. It's like, oh, I'm learning from her, or I don't want to be her, but I want to be something like what she has, or her brand or something. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just an aspiration. And I think that's actually a good thing to have those role models. And so, yeah, you said it perfectly. It's okay to do it when you're doing it that way, and understanding that you have everything that you need to be on your lane and succeed and get to the end of the race, kind of thing.
Right. And about mentorship, that's important too, because I feel like when you are working together to empower one another or to cheer each other on, then you kind of naturally become mentors, sometimes to one another, or just, one-sided sometimes.
Yeah.
So have you seen a lot of that in a very unique way throughout your experience with FEMX Quarters?
Yes, what I've noticed is, that we can all complement one another. So there are things that you're going to be really good at. There are things that I'm going to be really good at, even if we're in the same space. So when you come together, you can actually accomplish more, because now your skills complement my skills. And so this is why it's important not to have the mentality like, I'm going to do it alone and I don't need anybody, There's a lot that we miss out on when we think that way, and when we come together, we're actually complementing each other and helping each other out, and we can accomplish way more.
Yeah, and I love that, the idea of having a space where you can collaborate with other women and also get ideas, or like just getting opinions, because sometimes we get so stuck in our own head. And so as somebody, I do this all the time, but as somebody, watching this interview right now, and they're wondering, okay, but what if they steal my idea? Or what if, what would you say to them about coming to FEMX Quarters? Are there any type of rules or contracts that they sign, NDAs that people should know about?
I mean, people individually should always protect their brands, no matter what, no matter where you go. If you're meeting with someone for coffee and you're going to share an idea, and this happened with my podcast, I didn't trademark the name initially, and I changed my name later on because of an issue like that. I'm not going to go into details, but I sat down with someone, said to them it wasn't trademarked, and then they trademarked it like 2 days later. So yes, and this didn't happen at FEMX Quarters. This didn't even exist. But I'm just saying, I would say out there, like, we want to think the best of everyone, but there are always like a few bad apples. And so do always protect your brand no matter what, no matter where you're going. If you feel like you're going to be talking about an idea that's exclusive, that's unique, or your name or anything like that, make sure that you are trademarking it, you're copywriting your work. I just helped my sister copyright her book before she sends it to publishers. Like, I always recommend that legally. That's one of the best investments. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's like, I just really think it's such a good investment. Like, at that time, I was like, oh, I don't need to do this. It's just a podcast. And like, now it's fine. I changed the name anyway. It matches my brand. Who cares? But, what if I had money attached to that? What if, I had created merch or whatnot, and now I'm losing money, right? So it's really important. And I would say it to everyone, no matter where you go, do protect your brand, do invest in that, invest in registering your business. If all else fails, like if you don't need the fanciest website, you first need to protect your brand. And so I would say that. But on the other side of that, I've seen women, for example, so anything that intellectual property you have to protect. But there's a lot of things that are not intellectual property. There's a lot of things that are just common sense. Like I could give you Instagram tips right now, and you could probably find them on Google, and you can find them everywhere. And it's not something that I can potentially trademark or copyright or anything. Then this is the type of collaborations that I see all the time. I could tell you so many stories, but just someone coming up. Like I remember there was one time where this woman was sitting down, and I was kind of walking by, and I hear things. So this other woman was like, "Hey, like, like they were just having a conversation. Like, and this girl was like, "Yeah, I've been struggling with this on Canva. I don't know how to do this, whatever." And then the other girl's like, "Oh, let me show you." And then like she learned it in like 2 minutes, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been struggling with this for months, and now like thank you so much. I learned it in 2 minutes." So that happens like almost every day when we're open. We're not open right now, of course. But it happens every day where you can help each other and give each other tips and whatnot, and it's just beautiful because you're making each other's lives easier, right? You can go find these things on Google, but it might take you longer, and it's a lot easier when someone's like, "Oh, let me show you." And so I think that's the beauty of it. And again, as long as it's not intellectual property, you should be okay. And if it is intellectual property, even if you're talking to investors, like when I talk to investors, I had to send them an NDA for them to sign before I share my business plan with them,
Right.
for FEMX Quarters. And I don't care if they're investors and professionals or anything. It's just, and they understand that nobody gets offended by that. It's just like, okay, yeah, let me sign it for you. It's not a big deal. But it's really important, and you can always join programs online or LegalZoom or something, like an affordable way to, I think my NDA, I just got it from LegalZoom, and it's just for the state of California, and it's pretty standard, and you can fill in the blanks with, your name and whatnot. So I definitely recommend that people do that. Now, have I seen anything weird happen at FEMX Quarters where like people steal each other's ideas or anything? No, I have not seen that. Everybody that comes there comes with really good intentions, and you can tell that. And I think that has to do with culture. And when I was in corporate, culture was huge. I was actually in charge of the communications department, so I wasn't just doing digital marketing. I was also in charge of the culture, because that affected our PR, our image, and our employees. And so I've always been really huge on that. And I think when you have the right culture, you attract what you have. Culture is not something that you create on purpose. It's more like you are something, you are it, and then you attract that. So if you're genuinely trying to create a collaborative community, you're going to attract people like that. And over again, I see this happen where I see all these women come together with good intentions. I know there are crazy people out there, but thankfully so far, knock on wood, I haven't had anyone like that come to FEMX that I know of, or like, oh, this person betrayed me or so this or that. No, like everybody's like working together, everybody and stuff. Like I said, starting a business together or doing a photo shoot together, or like helping each other with a website or whatever. And it's really, really cool to see that. And it's a reminder to me every time I see that, like why I'm doing what I'm doing. If I'm ever tired, I think of those moments and I'm like, okay, this is paying off. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And just creating that space and being, I think it's so important to just be whatever you want to create. Sometimes we focus a lot on like what we say, but it's so important to just be that, and I think that as you are whatever it is you want to attract, you start attracting those people into your life.
Yeah, I definitely believe in that. And I believe that if people are wrong for a certain group or a certain collaboration, usually they weed themselves out.
Yes.
Nice, because that doesn't put that burden on you, because it can be awkward.
Yeah.
So another thing that I love and I want people to know about FEMX Quarters is that you provide online services as well. And I know that you have done that before quarantine, but you really amped it up, of course, during this hard period that we're going through. And I want to talk a little bit about FEMX University because I have had the privilege of participating in it and I love it. I
Thank
love
you.
it's not just the content and the value of it, but I love the aesthetics and it's amazing how much the aesthetic can make you feel
Mhm.
so good and
Mhm.
positive and like I can do this, you know. So can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about what type of courses you offer and other online services?
Yeah. Yeah. So FEMX right now, so far we have starting a six-figure brand, and we have branding, we have Instagram, and we have a podcast one. The goal later on, the big picture for this is to also bring on other experts. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, for example, so I would love for a female lawyer to teach a course on there. For an accountant or anyone else to teach a course. I want to make it really about um, almost like the experience of a university where like you're actually there to learn, like your professors are not trying to sell you anything. I just really want it to be like that. I want it to be super, super affordable. Like I don't want it to become a thing where like, oh, you have to get a credit card or anything like that. So I want it to be affordable. I want it to be by women and not just me, but other experts in the field. And I want it to be almost like, hey, like you can really, it has to be super hands-on. And that's so important to me that, hey, if you take this course, you can actually, like the podcast one, like you can actually start your podcast. Like you will be able, because I think that's what happens with the universities. We learn a lot of theory, but then it's like, okay, like, then you move to the next semester, and like you're not really applying any of it. And then eventually you forget it, or it's just not applicable. Or like the professors are teaching a lot of times, they don't have any practical experience. Like they've only been professors.
Oh
So they
yeah.
don't actually know what it's like to run a business or to grow an Instagram account. Like I'm amazed at all these like social media classes that I see at universities that I look up the professors because I geek out on this stuff. And I'm like, this person is like 80 years old.
Yeah.
Well, not to hate, but it's like, went to Harvard, sure, for business, but that doesn't tell me that you know how to do Instagram.
Yeah,
So I
actually,
think,
yeah, that's a very good observation because when I was in grad school, I remember looking at the curriculum, with curriculum vitae of my professors, and I thought, oh my gosh, you went straight from college
right.
teaching. How,
Yeah.
such a good point. Anyway.
And yeah, sure, you have a PhD, you went to Harvard, whatever, but like, is that going to apply? Again, there are instances where it does. Like doctors, like if you want to be a doctor, an accountant, anything like that, yes, like by all means, go to college or, it's really important, all the academia stuff. But a lot of these things, especially with business or arts, like artistic careers, like you just need someone who's done it. Like, would you rather learn from like a rock star that is successful? Like if you want to learn guitar, or would you rather go to school for 10 years for that? Like, I'd rather learn from like a rock star, that plays the guitar every day, that's famous for that knows about it. And so I think that's what I want to create. I want to create something where, hey, I took this course in like 2 weeks. I launched my podcast and it's great. And it was easy to learn and it was really like hands on. And, the lessons are like 5 to 10 minutes maybe, so like you're taking, say you take one lesson, which is like again 5 to 10 minutes, but you actually take the rest of the time to implement that lesson. Like, oh, okay, this is what you do, let me take an hour or two to do it. The next day you do the same, the next day, next thing you know, in 2 weeks you have your podcast or you have your Instagram account that you wanted to grow, or the rebrand, or the website, whatever it is, and you have that and you did it and it was a good investment because you can see the payoff right away. So that's what we're trying to create. And like you said, this is a vision we had since the beginning of FEMX. Like FEMX had so many, even other things that we haven't even opened under a brand yet, but we had this big picture, but I had to like really do it step by step because I couldn't launch everything. And I think one of the blessings of this time, and I know it's hard and I know there's a lot of bad things about it, but also like one of the good things is it allowed me the time to finally create those courses that I had been wanting to do, but since I have been open FEMX Quarters, we couldn't do it. Also the virtual co-working that you mentioned, if I didn't have the time to do it, I just couldn't do it. But it was part of the vision too, because we would have a lot of people that don't live in San Diego that were like, I want to be part of FEMX Quarters, like what can I do? And I would always be like, yes, I want to create this online community, but I don't have the time to do it. So there's always a silver lining. There's always something good. There's always opportunity, even in the hardest times. And this has allowed me the time to finally focus on those. So it almost gave me a little break from like the brick and mortar day-to-day logistical stuff that I had to do, and I was able to launch these other things. And like I said, I want other women to be part of it. Aesthetics matter. I'm very visual, and I come from like a branding kind of background, and so that's why it's important for me that everything that we do, whether it's the decor at the space or the website or an Instagram account at FEMX University, that everything is cohesive. And that just goes back to good branding and how you want people to feel, how you want people. Our brand is so focused on that like there's a scent to FEMX Quarters. Like, I want you to go to FEMX Quarters and smell the scent, and then whenever, if ever you're anywhere else where you smell, you're like, oh, that's the FEMX scent. So it's really important, and I'm like a big preacher when it comes to branding, like how important that is, and you have to be your brand. It goes back to just being, like, you have to be your brand, and then you will attract that. You will be able to communicate that. If you're trying to be something you're not, it doesn't come on as authentic or as real. So it's really important that you are you, that your brand really represents you.
Right, absolutely. And aside from that, you mentioned the podcast. So can you tell us a little bit about how often and what type of, I guess, information people can expect to hear on your podcast?
Yeah, so FEMX podcast is actually, we have different topics. Like, I think a lot of the stuff that helps entrepreneurs is mindset and being healthy and working on yourself. So we do have a lot of interviews that are about sales and business topics, but I try to do a lot of lifestyle topics. As an entrepreneur, what are the things that I needed when it came to staying sane, staying productive, or being healthy mentally or whatever? Because it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. It's not just it's not like working for somebody else. You are working all the time. I go to sleep thinking about my business, whether it's an idea, something that I want to do, a person I want to reach out to. You're always thinking. So for me, mental health topics, for me, talking about collaboration and all these conversations are super important. So we talk about those. It's weekly, on Mondays. And also, you're going to be the first to hear this because this is just something I've been working on. So when I first started with my first podcast, it was all in Spanish, and I was really passionate about that. And then, like I told you, I changed the name and stopped doing that. But it was something I was really passionate about. So for the longest time, I've been wanting to go back to that and do something like that. And so I am going to start a little series in Spanish again, aside from the FEMX podcast. And that's going to be just motivation, like just short motivational messages. That's something I'm really passionate about. And so that's something that I'm going to be doing in Spanish again. So you heard it first here. You got an exclusive. I just kind of worked out all the details like literally yesterday, so I'm really excited about it. And it's just a matter of staying true to what you really want to do. I had a lot of confirmations recently of people telling me like, oh, I really loved it when you did this, can you do it again? So I was like, that's a confirmation. I've been wanting to do it again. And I think it'll just be on my Instagram, so I'll share the little short messages on my Instagram and on a podcast. But I just wanted to, just to share like free inspiration, just life stories. And just, I think to be successful as an entrepreneur, it's a lot about mindset, a lot about keeping a balance, finding yourself, doing what you really love. And that is like inner work that you have to constantly be doing and learning. And that's what I want to share with entrepreneurs. I think it's BS when people tell you you can become a millionaire overnight, or when people tell you like, oh, this is all you need, I'm going to give you everything you need. Not like, no, there's so much that we need as an entrepreneur. It's not just business or strategy. So that's what I want to communicate with women. And I try to be honest. I always share my flaws or like the mistakes I make, or if like my business is closed now and I need funding or whatever it may be, because I want women to know that it is a roller coaster and it's okay. You're gonna make it. I'm okay. I'm still alive. You're gonna be alive too. It's all right. We're gonna be fine. But no one's perfect. There's no perfect Instagram life in real life. There's no perfect feed in real life. So that's what it's focused on. It's more like real conversations.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that little nicely kept secret about the Spanish segments. I'm excited about that one too because it's refreshing, to hear it in our native language.
Yes, yes.
And I have, yeah, because I've listened to your podcast from the beginning. I like purposely went all the way to the first one.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry for you.
No, it's okay. No, no, that's what I loved about it.
I
The
hate
rawness.
listening. I hate listening to like my own like beginning podcast. I'm sorry.
I understand how you feel because I cringe when I go to my YouTube videos or my blog posts. So like, oh my gosh, how did I
Yeah.
master's degree and I can't even speak right, or
Yeah.
that's just us being our own critics. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of this wonderful information, especially parts of the collaborations with other women and
Hmm.
about this beautiful space that I just can't wait to go and visit as soon as you open. Do you have an estimated time frame for when it's gonna open again?
I mean, we've been ready to open. We're just waiting on the governor. Technically right now we're not, we're not a restaurant. We're not essential, so we're not allowed to open yet. So I'm guessing like the office space or the co-working should be able to open sooner than later, maybe in the next month or two. And then I think for events, that's going to take a little longer from what they've been saying. But again, I don't think anyone really knows. I think they just have estimates of everything, and so we'll see. We'll see when that happens. But I'm just really comfortable. I'm really like in a good place. I'm not anxious about it. I know we'll be fine as a business, and if we had to, for whatever reason, change anything, I'm totally open to that. And so I think that's just part of the entrepreneur journey. And going back to your collaboration, I did want to say, because you had asked about a powerful collaboration with another woman, and I want to do a shout out to Annie from the Latina Pro, because I remember I met her. She came to San Diego once. So the Latina Pro is based out of Florida, and I did want to share the story with you. So they're out of Florida, and then Fem Latinas, is out of San Diego. And so we both have similar missions, to empower women. They focus a little more on like career. We focus a little more on entrepreneurship, but we still do a lot of the same, and working worldwide and helping Latinas. And I think it was beautiful because one time she came to San Diego and she reached out to me out of the blue. She's like, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm coming to San Diego. When I meet up for coffee." And I was like so excited. I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And from then we kind of created this collaboration that I don't know if people realize it or not, because it's been beautiful. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. There's a lot of I actually created this like secret WhatsApp group that I have with like two other women that we are kind of in similar spaces. There's Anna from Pine Sisterhood too, who's always been really collaborative too. And so we kind of like help each other out. So I call the queen bees. It's kind of like, we have a lot of similar challenges at times, and we have a lot of similar experiences or questions. And so it's kind of cool to have this little support system that women that get what you're going through. And I did want to share that story with you because, it's sometimes it's even behind the scenes. Like people don't know or people don't see it. And it's not about what people see. It's about having that integrity. So I respect these women so much for their integrity, because they're not just publicly preaching the message of empowering women and collaboration over competition, but I have seen them, and together we have actually, kind of created this secret unspoken alliance in a way. We're constantly cheering for each other, we're constantly supporting each other, and there's never an ounce of like competition or, well, if I share about this, people are going to go to them or anything like that. And like I said, it's secret. We don't advertise it. There's nothing like that. It's just, we just have each other in WhatsApp, on a WhatsApp group, and just being able to reach out like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Can you help me share?" So I recommend, to find that tribe, to find that sisterhood, and to make it real, to actually not just speak it publicly, but what are you doing like in private to really collaborate with other women. So I wanted to make sure to throw that in and to do the shout out to those ladies. They're doing amazing things in this world too. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. That's a beautiful story, and it's really cool to know that you're not just talking the talk, you're doing it too. So I'm sure that people are going to fall in love with you even more because of that, because that is one of the elements that a lot of people look for in somebody who's going to guide them or mentor them, or even use their services. So do you have any upcoming online events that you'd like to announce?
We don't have an event right now that I'd like to announce. I do want to announce that we do have a lot of internship opportunities right now, and also, internships that will also lead to career opportunities. And I'm really passionate about empowering the next generation. So we don't discriminate against anyone, but we are looking for younger people that want to learn, that want to grow. Right now, we're actually looking for a tech person to help us in the back end with online platforms. And so if there's any woman out there, that wants to grow with us, that wants to kind of get their foot in the door and help with that, we are open. Do reach out, even if you are interested in a different position with us. I'm all about empowering women that way too. I started my corporate career because of an internship. I got my foot in the door that way. So I'm very, very passionate about that. So I did want to share that as well. As far as events, we don't have any events coming up right away, but they can check out the co-working, which is every Monday at FEMX Quarters. We have a link there, and you can just join us virtually every Monday.
Yeah, I love that. Unfortunately, I can't join those because of my day, but hey, maybe I'll play hooky one day.
We're actually starting to record the replays, and we're thinking about publishing them because we have a lot of people that can't join, but we're actually doing a lot of really good topics. So we might start posting the replays. So I'll let you know if we do.
Yeah, I would love that. I actually thought of emailing you and asking you about that.
Yeah.
Also, just for the opportunity of getting to know other ladies that participate,
Yeah.
Working, although it might not be directly in real time. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jessie. I've loved this chat and learning more about FEMX Quarters and everything that you're doing and everything that you're planning on doing in the future, like the franchise, the Spanish segments, and all of that. I wish you the best, and we'll be staying.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. It was an honor to be with you. I love you. I love your good vibes. I can tell you're an amazing human being. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, one last thing. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, so Instagram at Jessie Medina Official, or just jessiemedina.com. Jessie is JESSIE Medina.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Besos.
Well, there you have it. That was Jessie Medina, founder of FEMX Quarters, and she shared with us about her podcast, her FEMX University, her summit, and her story, which is really inspiring, to have gone from working for corporate America to building her own business and having to cope with COVID and the shutdown of all the businesses, and she's still thriving. So it's very inspiring. I hope that you are able to take away some golden nuggets and apply them to your everyday life. I know that not all of you who watch are business owners, but just the story alone is inspiring to try to get over any hurdles you might be going through right now. And I hope that if you're in the San Diego area, that you're able to go and pay her a visit once this quarantine is over. I know I definitely will be. Last but not least, the biggest compliment you can give me is by subscribing to this channel. Also, by going to my website at DaliTalks.com and becoming a subscriber so that I can send you notifications every Wednesday right before another video goes live at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Wednesday.